Thank you. Wangless.
We're obviously need less wine.
Wangles.
And I kind of hope it's wangless.
Vampire the Masquerades Bloodlines was a super awesome game that came out in 2004. I still need to play it. Everyone loves it though. And it definitely seems like a game that is a nice introduction into RPG elements and would have been a really big hit for trying to bring in casual horror fans outside of video games. Today, just checking the news, looks like one of the narrative leads who made the first Vampire the Masquerades Bloodlines was suddenly let go from his position. I can't actually remember the name of the game studio here. Is it Troika Games? Yeah, it was Troika Games. So, with that, it seems strange. It's at a time when you hear about people getting suddenly fired, and you go, hey, it's 2020. Is this guy abusing his power? Is he doing something kind of fucked up? And you have to check it. And they didn't actually put this out in the statement where they fired this guy. And it wasn't just one guy, it was two people on the game. But for some reason, the source that I'm looking at just says one. It does seem unusual to fire someone who's a narrative lead and one of the co-founders of the game. Because that's basically his idea. So I'm going to read the statement that he put out after being suddenly fired. So Brian here says, until recently, I was narrative lead of a video game called Vampire the Masquerades Bloodlines 2 for Hardsuit Labs, Incorporated, being published by Paradox Interactive. Paradox Interactive owns 30% of Hardsuit Labs. Not Troika Games, I'm sorry, that was a lie. I need better sources. After almost 5 whole years on involvement with the studio, suddenly terminated on July 16th. A little interesting that it took him over a month to actually come out here and say, hey, we fired the guy who came up with the game, which just seemed a little interesting. His statement continues here. This came as a shock to me. Sorry, the fact that this came as a shock to me is underselling it. I've worked on Bloodlines 2 for almost 5 years. The story and main cast was initially conceived in my living room. I've developed the pitch for Hardsuit Labs and helped pitch the project to Paradox in Las Vegas. I've been in charge of the narrative since the beginning, working long days and sometimes weekends to deliver a successor to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and I've never been led to believe that I hadn't succeeded. Very obviously, I've been involved in the PR and marketing side of things, even though it was one of the most difficult parts for me. I'm a pretty private person. Press and crowds tend to heavily trigger my social anxiety, which, if you've ever wondered about the gloves, they're armor that make me feel less exposed in situations that trigger my anxiety. The dude wears gloves. Like, just around, because he's an anxious person. Which is fine, whatever. If that works for you, cool. But this guy clearly was already, like, a little on edge and doing things he didn't want to do for 5 years, and then I guess these guys just suddenly fired him, so that's not cool. Bloodlines and the fandom of the game mean the world to me, so I lend my legacy to the franchise, my name and participation in marketing efforts for the game, even when it was intensely difficult and took a mental and physical toll. This is all because I wanted to do what was best for the game and the team. The pride in the work, the fan expectations, and the support from coworkers who started as fans kept me going through these long 5 years. I'm incredibly disappointed and frustrated to say this is where it ends for me in the project. I was not part of the conversations that led to the decision to delay production, and to my knowledge, there were no delays caused by the Bloodlines 2 narrative development. I'm confident and proud of the work that I and my team put forward. When that work will be seen in what form will take is unknown to me. It was a pleasure to work on this game, and many people at Hardsuit Labs and Paradox, and I'm sorry that I won't be able to see it to the end. I spent years on making some of the best characters and dialogue that I ever wrote. It means a lot to me to hear from the Bloodlines community, and I do hope that what's finally delivered is as satisfying as I intended it to be. Thanks to all of you who supported me throughout the project. So, reading that statement is a little concerning, because usually, you'd have like a video game developer, and they would leave it during development after either their jobs are done or maybe they get a different offer. Not someone who's a creative lead, not someone who's like the guy who comes up with the game and pitches it in his living room. You know what I mean? So it's very suspicious, and as this article here by Rock Paper Shotgun illustrates, you don't. It seems like they'd want to. Not really just get rid of the guy who came up with the story. It seems so bizarre. So the firing doesn't really make much sense. And it came as a shock to everyone, it seems like. Their game was also recently postponed to 2021. I think it might be Q1 or Q2. I don't think there's actually a month that's been decided. Yeah, and it's already been delayed before that, you know. It's already just kind of been pushed back. So getting rid of the people who are trying to guide your game towards its final vision does not seem like a good move. To fire those people like 5 months before your game comes out, assuming that it's coming out in Q1 of 2021. I hope this game is good. I really dig that whole idea of trying to get the vampires and the classes and expanding on the RPG elements of actually being a vampire in real society. I know there's like class systems, there's all kinds of stuff in the original Vampire the Masquerades game, which I think was originally a tabletop game that made its way over to a video game. I can't actually recall the origins of it correctly. Seems very interesting to have this, and I was looking forward to it. If Corona wasn't happening, I'd probably be checking out some kind of demo here at PAX, which is usually around the very end of August or the first weekend of September, you know, that Labor Day weekend time. And yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that I can't check it out. It seems like there's been a lot of issues in the production of this game. Just a nice little news story here, you know, that even if you work for a company, you come up with a game and you pitch it and you work on it for 5 years, the company will reward you by firing you with almost no notice and not letting you actually talk about it for a whole month. You know, is there financial issues? I'm not sure what's going on. But that's it. That's all I got. There's your news update. Vampire RPG coming soon? Question mark?